Lovely. Well, thank you very much everyone for coming. Welcome to Defending Rainforests, Defending Rights, Voices from Sarawak. We're absolutely delighted to have had you with us today in Manchester. It's such an incredible honour for us to be hosting you. We had an amazing morning at Manchester Museum doing an Indigenous ceremony called Rainforest Lifelines. And if you didn't get a chance to catch it, do have a look on Manchester Friends of the Earth's social media channels, because they'll be showing it there and showing it on YouTube. And huge thanks to Stuart filmed it all and captured all the footage, so thank you so much for that. My name's Helen. I'm the Northwest Organiser of Friends of the Earth, and I'm also a member of Manchester Friends of the Earth. So this event this afternoon is organised by Manchester Friends of the Earth and Greater Manchester Climate Justice Coalition, and this is part of our campaigning on climate justice and trying to build our movement here in Greater Manchester towards the COP30 later this year and beyond that, and also part of our campaigning on corporate accountability, and we'll hear a bit more about that from Nick later on. So during the afternoon, the main thing that we're all here for is to hear voices and stories of Indigenous activists who are facing the threat of deforestation in Sarawak, and how this links to climate justice and your efforts to have your Indigenous-led efforts ahead of COP and international climate summits and in fighting for climate justice. And we'll also hear about your struggles against powerful corporates and the links with UK supply chains and what we can be doing here in the UK to hold big business to account. So I'll just run through quickly how we'll use the time today. So we're going to start with some scene setting from Nick Rao, who's our corporate accountability campaigner at Friends of the Earth. And then we'll have our main section, hearing voices from Sarawak. And we're also going to have chance, because we want to foster as much discussion and solidarity amongst us all as possible. We're going to have chance for some smaller group discussions. So we're going to split into three, and we'll have three of our Sarawak guests in each of the groups. We'll have a group at the front, the back, and in another room here, with a Friends of the Earth staff member with each of the groups as well to help facilitate that. And we'd love you to think about the stories you've heard, the local to global connections that we can make, and also what action we can take, because that's what we're here for. We're here to show solidarity, and we're here to amplify your voices and to join your struggle and fight for climate justice. And just to flag, one particular weekend is the 24th and 25th of May, and Friends of the Earth groups around the country are going to be standing in solidarity with forest defenders. You can see some of our placards here, one with sleep, and we'll be organising an action in Manchester. You can organise actions in your own communities as well, so please do leave your details, if you've not already, for Manchester Friends of the Earth to contact you about that. And then finally, we'll come back together for a solidarity photo with everybody. So just to say as well, there's no fire alarms expected, so if you do hear something, we'll come out of here and go out down the stairs. And if you need the toilets, they're just on this floor. I actually forgot to look, but Pete can direct you outside. So just before we go to Nick, I'm going to invite Linda from Greater Manchester Climate Justice Coalition to come and welcome as well.
It's fantastic to be here today with these amazing rainforest defenders who really are on the front line of the campaign for climate justice. And in the run-up to COP26 in Glasgow, lots of environmental campaigns and activists came together to prepare for the COP so that we can have a big rally and march in Manchester and raise awareness about what the COPs ought to do and what they don't do. And we're really hoping that this year, with the COP being in Brazil, where protecting the rainforest will be such a central issue, and all the Indigenous peoples will be so central to that campaign, that maybe something better will come out of the COP this time. So we started as a COP26 coalition, and then we had a big conference in Manchester, and we turned into Greater Manchester Climate Justice Coalition. We did a big demonstration last year with all the Palestine activists, raising awareness about the environmental impact of war and the links between war and climate change and the dreadful environmental impact in Gaza and the West Bank. So we hope that some of you who perhaps haven't been involved with the coalition before might get involved with us in the future. At the May Day rally next week on Monday, May the 5th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's going to be a march from St Peter's Square, and I know the Manchester Trades Council want to get lots of people involved. So it would be great to have lots of climate and environmental banners and placards and flags involved in that march. And then very shortly there's an insurance conference at the big Manchester Conference Centre, almost next door to here, and people are organising lots of events for a whole day around that on May the 14th. So that's a fantastic chance to raise the issue of protecting our natural world, stop insuring oil, and working towards climate justice in the future. So do sign up if you haven't on the way in. Sign up to get more involved with Friends of the Earth, and if you want to, with the wider Climate Justice Coalition. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Linda. So I'm going to hand, one more person. This room at the back. I'm going to hand over to Nick, who's our campaigner at Friends of the Earth, and is going to talk about the Planet Over Profit campaign.
Hello everybody, thanks for coming. Just give you a brief introduction because what we really want to hear from is the Sarawak delegates. So humanity's facing huge existential crises, aren't we, of biodiversity loss and climate change. And the reason for that is our global economic model, which is extractive, and it's about maximising exploitation of natural resources for short-term profit. And if you've heard from these defenders today, you'll realise that many Indigenous peoples live in harmony with the forest. They've harvested the forest sustainably for centuries. They're in the front line of defending the forests, and will be. They are currently in the front line, and they are key defenders of the forests in the fight to come. In terms of the Planet Over Profit campaign, and in terms of that whole global system, we're looking at that whole global system of corporate abuse of land grab, of extractive industries like palm oil, like timber, like the global meat industry, or the financial industry that's propping up and investing those egregious kind of systems. This whole from factory farming to harvesting cocoa in West Africa or whatever, which is putting people into slavery. So what we're looking at is, in terms of our Planet Over Profit campaign, is trying to address the UK's footprint. We have a huge footprint in terms of the land we're using overseas to feed ourselves and for all the luxuries, including the new luxuries, of course, like transition metals, increasingly all carbon credits, where we're using Indigenous people's land to pay for our own CO2 emissions. So we've got this huge footprint. So what the Planet Over Profit campaign is all about is trying to address that corporate footprint, trying to address these awful, egregious actions that are happening in UK corporate supply chains, all these abuses. The primary instrument we're trying to do that with is a new law to make companies accountable for harm to people and the environment. So those companies who are deforesting, who are land grabbing, who are intimidating environmental rights defenders can actually be taken to court in the UK. We need due diligence in our supply chains, and we've got to clean up the UK supply chains. And the way we're doing that is we're partnering with southern communities. So at the moment we've got relationships with groups in Sulawesi in Indonesia who are fighting land grab for palm oil which is being used by Unilever. Again in Indonesia we're working with Wali North Sumatra, who are fighting a British-owned gold mine, which is actually threatening the most endangered species of orangutan, the Tapanuli orangutan. There might only be 600 or 700 of those individuals left. And we're working, of course, with these incredible colleagues from Sarawak who are fighting timber extraction and palm oil and tree plantations and you name it, and mega dams. So we take our cue. It's a partnership. We have to work in partnership. We don't want to be instructed. We're not going to repeat that model, so we're working in partnership with these guys. And one of the key priorities we have, and and these people have is COP30. COP30, we're in a war, we're in a fight to save the world's forests. Forests are huge carbon stores, they're rich in biodiversity, but they're also, global deforestation is increasing, and it's a huge contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. So these guys are going to COP30. We need to support them at COP30. So in addition to the new law, we'll be putting on pressure for the UK government to ensure they recognise Indigenous people as the key forest defenders. They recognise them and they empower them and they finance them. We'll be asking the UK government to meet its Glasgow Leaders Declaration, which is to halt deforestation and reverse it by 2030, and we'll be pushing for this new law. So that's what we're doing. That's kind of an overview of the campaign, but I think now is the time to hear about people on the front line, people who are actually, fighting for their rights, fighting for the land, fighting for their homes and their very existence, and these are the guys, who've been doing it sustainably for millennia, and the guys we want to be supporting. So I'm going to hand over to Celine, and Celine's going to say a little bit about herself, and then she's going to introduce some of her colleagues from Sarawak.
Okay, Sayudo. I bring you greetings in Kayan, because I'm a Kayan from Nompila Baram. And I really don't know what to say just looking at you from this side of the room, and it's a full house, so it's a small room, but it's a full house, and the warmth is real. We're here today because although we are part of the Rainforest event, there's also a few other events that we're part of. On the 28th, I think I could just take the time to talk about this. On the 28th, the delegates that you see here will also be speaking at Royal Geographical Society in a commemoration of the Mulu National Park exploration that happened. In fact, who you have here in this room are really prominent people. You have Uncle Ukau and even Uncle No. Uncle No is also the Sapit player, but Uncle Ukau and Uncle No were some of the original people who was part of the original team. They led the expedition together with the people that were coming from the Royal Geographical Society. And again, unfortunately, track record, historically, we see that even though they were the ones who know the forest like the back of their hands, they are never acknowledged in the whole process. So I just wanted to start off with that these are the people that you have in the room. So I want to acknowledge my elders, who has done a lot, but yet their names are not in your books. Their names are not in your documentations. Their names are not in your galleries. So I just want to put it out there that I want to acknowledge just my elders. Terima kasih. But on the 29th, I don't know how to even choose what I want to say today, because I could say so much. But let's not keep everybody here, because I think my family also needs to go home and rest later. But if you really want to know some of the work that we're doing, we'll also be talking about Indigenous-led conservation effort, of how it looks like from the grassroots level, and that's happening on the 29th, also at Royal Geographical Society. Please know that English is not my first language, so I will mispronounce things, but I don't care. So that's just a little bit of an introduction. Again, my name is Celine. I am a Kayan from Nompila Baram. It's been a privilege to be a part of the Defenders family, and I grew up with a lot of this conversation over dinner table. And to find myself being a part of this defending work, I have to pinch myself every day. But I have much to say, but I think before I do that, I've introduced Uncle Ukau and Uncle No. Probably just a very quick one. This is Uncle Willie. He comes from Mulu. He's also here for the Mulu expedition event that we're having. And I'm going to do this very quickly, if you all are okay. And Dayang is the daughter of Uncle Ukau. and having her as like this next generation leader, it is always mind-blowing to be working with her. And then I also have Uncle Mutang Urut. I grew up actually knowing about him, and I've seen his documentary. I've always told him this, that his documentary was my life, my game changer. But to be able to work with him, there are days I look at him and I feel like it's so surreal, but he's so human. so that's Uncle Mutang. He has so much to tell, but I feel like I cannot tell it. But please have a conversation with him. You need to know this man's heart for his people and for his land. So that's Uncle Mutang. And then we have Uncle Komyo. He calls me Ahom, which is my niece, alright? So although we're not blood related, but he calls me Ahom, which is I'm his niece. So Uncle Komyo is a Penan leader. He also founded another organization, our partner organization called Keruan, which again Dayang is from. And also Leroy, again the next generation. He's a mapper dude. Like you have any conversation about GIS and you want to know about community mapping, Leroy's in the room. So just have that conversation with him as well. So I wanted them to be a part of this, but I will not forget also Ronnie. Okay, so Ronnie, we have Ronnie here. He is all the way from
Long
Maraan, which is very close to Long Selaan. Okay, so Ronnie, I think this is Ronnie's first time with us. But again, we want to really invest with the next generation. We hope to see more would come, but we traveled very far to be here with you all today. And if you really want to hear more of our stories, we'll be here on the 28th and the 29th still at Royal Geographical Society. So that's a little bit of who we are. And I'm here to tell you a little bit more about what I do in an organization called Save Rivers. So Save Rivers is a 12-year-old non-profit grassroots-based organization. We believe in people's movement. Save Rivers came out from a people's movement where my uncles and auntie, because they heard that this mega hydro dam was going to happen in their area, it's going to displace 25,000 community. They rallied and mobilized themselves. It's the most beautiful thing you could ever see. My uncles, my aunties, my grandmas with tattoos and long ears, marching down like government public areas and demanding that these mega dams would not be built. So this was one of the longest running blockade in Malaysia. It lasted for 2 years. But because of this people's movement mobilization, our highest of state made this statement: if the people don't want the mega hydro dam, we will not give them the mega hydro dam. So for us, it's a people's movement. It started out from that, and Save Rivers wish to just keep that as our DNA till kingdom come. So that's a little bit of the work that we do, but most of you would also know us from the strategic litigation against public participation that we experienced. For the last 2.5 years, my whole energy and mental capacity was dedicated to ensure that Save Rivers would still stay afloat, because we were being sued by a huge conglomerate of a logging company that demanded 5 million ringgit out of a 4-person run NGO. So I honestly tell you, it was one of the hardest years because I didn't know what was going to happen to us as an NGO. Then to understand later that this is actually a trend that a lot of huge corporate power players, industry players do to silence public participation, it really changed our whole defense mechanism. So how did all this come about? It's because of our ally and solidarity. And one successful thing was in the midst of this all, you had the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights Defenders actually calling this as SLAP. So this is such an important thing because my country don't have a legal framework for SLAP. So to have a language that say that this is not defamation, but this is a SLAP, it was very powerful for us. So it just means that our job was justified. Our reports are justified. This is not defamation. This is an act of silencing. So again, this is where so many of you came and supported us. We had so much solidarity. We did the hashtag Stop the Slap campaign. And then in 2023, in September, it was all very K-drama. If some of you watch K-drama, it's just so much, and Spanish soap opera probably. But it came to a point where the day that we were supposed to have the hearing, we received a call from the company's lawyer and told us that let's sign a joint statement together where we're withdrawing the whole lawsuit. And that's a win for us because we didn't have to go through a time-exhausting hearing. Although we were exhausted in our resources, we were only able to stand because of the legal aid, the emergency fundings that came our way. So just to let you know, this experience is very real for a lot of us defenders, and they're using the law to silence you, right? So where we are at now, because of this withdrawal, this is now one of the cases that many of our Southeast Asian counterpart is using as a template. But prior to this, I don't even know what SLAP is. But right now, I could tell you what was our template, what was the move that we took, what was our strategy. But again, all of this was possible because we had people who came in and helped us. So I just wanted to start off with that. It's very long, but we're not done because I have some Q&A. If you have questions, keep it because you're gonna have your opportunity to ask. Okay, so I have people here that we have chosen to have a few Q&A with, and in fact, I'm going to do like a 3-part to this. And the first one, am I okay, right, with time, right?
Perfect.
Okay, and I'm not too fast. Okay. 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 All right. So I'm going to start with the first question, and this question is going to be directed to Uncle Mutang and Uncle Komyok. So Uncle Mutang and Uncle Komyok, I would love to hear more about your community, and maybe you could share with us, since you've been doing this for a long time, what was that experience, or what was it that happened that made you even more determined to be involved in this cause of fighting for your land and fighting for Indigenous people's right? Maybe I could start off with Uncle Mutang or Uncle Komyok. Uncle Komyok, okay. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Komyok Jo. I'm the Penan. I'm the leader's CEO of Kruan. So actually, in that case, this is my boss. Yeah. So I just want to briefly about the background of the history of our fight, our struggle. It was if you all know that since 80s, 1987, there are dozens of blockades have been done by our people. The Penan, Kalabit, Kenya, and all the indigenous people throughout Sarawak. We have started the blockade in 1987. There are many people, many elders have been arrested because of our struggle. Because that struggle, and there are lots of issues, problems all around the area. And we have, in the 90s, we have a campaign, international campaign. He is the one who go throughout the world to do the big campaign. And myself also involved with the campaign. And our struggle never stopped until today. I just briefly told you that this is today. The information I received last night, these few days I cannot sleep because the history from the beginning until this day, this is the blockade continue. So the police arrested my people, they tortured, they even murdered our leaders. This is really serious issues even today. I think it was 2-3 days ago, this one blockade, this police dismantled the blockade. It is happened a few days ago. And this morning they told me this is the photo of the blockade. And this is what happened. They encroached into our forests without free of informed consent, like Sylvan said just now. This is our experience. If I tell you detail, it takes time. So I make it briefly. There are a lot of blockade. If you want to know, you can ask my people. This is the fresh issues today. The main issue I want to share with you. You can support us and what kind of means you can support us through campaign or write to our government, whatever. This is the message from the community this morning here. If you want to know more, then come to 29th of this month and 2 days to come. And we can share together.
Monday.
It's Monday. So I did it briefly because my friend want to say more. If you, the time is.
Thank you for the comment.
Thank you, Tilly. Thank you. Really wonderful to see all of you here. And I was passing through London and the UK in 2022 at the COP26. Actually, I was there to talk about the exposing the timber mafia from Southeast Asia, because they are all over the Pacific Island, all the way to the Amazon, the Congo, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, and they are from Sarawak. Only 6 big companies, and so they are destroying all these tropical rainforests all over these places. And in terms of how our people were impacted, still impacted right now, is that it caused a lot of confusion, it caused a lot of anger, caused a lot of what do you call that, hopelessness, because they were going to the authorities. The authorities send them to one minister, to the other one, to the other one, and there's no one going to solve anything. So they pass the buck around, and our people are left without any solution, even until now actually. So as a young man in my 20s, I realized that I have some knowledge of writing. I can write to the authorities and see, maybe we were very naive, we were very hopeful, thinking that we would solve the problem by writing, by meeting with the authorities. But later on, we realized, blockaded 9 months, 7 months, at the blockade with the people, there was no solving of anything. And there's a lot of threats to us who are leading the campaign, the leaders in the blockades. And I myself have been at the blockade, 9 months blockade. I was arrested and put in jail, in solitary confinement, and that did not weaken me. It strengthened me, because I'm now still. It's about 40 years ago. It strengthened me to realize that nothing has been solved in these issues, in our land issues, and so now I took a refugee in Canada, status in Canada. And so now I can go back to my community. But some of us, like what Celine is saying, we still have threats on our lives. One of our friends, about 5 years, 6 years ago, was shot and being killed on the street because they were against oil palm company, against the destruction of the land. And so for me, going back home, as now I'm Canadian citizen, but I still go back home. I try, because politically it's difficult for me to go back home. So I changed my tactic to say I'm now a language revivalist. So I do studies in Indigenous language revitalization, because language and land are connected. Language comes from the land. If the land disappears, the language will disappear as well. Or if the language disappears, biodiversity disappears. And so there is very interlinked connection with them. And so for me, language and also the forest, they are the same, interlinked. So that's my work right now, to continue. I told my children, don't become an activist. It's not an easy job. But they are in wildlife management, in environmental science studies, and so what can you do? So really wonderful to see all of you. I know you will influence your own children, grandchildren, and so that they do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Uncle Mutang and Uncle Komyo. And the next person that I will call is Uncle Willie. He comes from Mulu. And Uncle Willie is a Tarin. And he has seen how much his childhood home has changed through the years, because now his area or his ancestral domain is a national park. So Uncle Willie, I think my question to you here is, how have the threats to your forest changed over the years, and how have your communities responded?
You want to clean up about your, okay. You want me to stand up? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here together with you guys on here. My name is Willie Kajan. I come from Molo, Sarawak, land of Borneo. Yeah. I would like to highlight about the hot issue now in our area. First, I will tell you about our history background. Molo was one of our trained in the Penan people together, where our ancestors been there but in 18th century. Yeah, we have mountains, we have caves, we have forests. Mountain is just like our playgrounds, and the cave is for our ancestors' settlement, and also for the burials area also. And the forest, river, is just like flora and fauna. Flora and fauna is, to me, to us, is very valuable to us compared to gold and diamond. So like we are here to defend and protect it for our next generation. So let me talk about the how we, the community and the state government, we have conflict about it. Our ancestors look after this area hundred of years to look after and take care of it. The forest is beautiful. Gaby was there to see that too. So it's very touristic now. The government, they are the one who first come into our place, our land, our forest. This has happened in 1962. 1962 until 66. The government come over and meet our chief for the village and discuss about Mulu as a national park. First, in 1965, our chief disagreed. Why he disagreed? Because his people, the Tring Penan, that is the place where our pharmacy, our banks, and our supermarket. That's why our chiefs told the government body, and the government came on discuss with them. Until 1965, our chief disagreed at all. And then it kept on discussing until 1966. At the end, he agreed, but with term and condition. That's why we have memorandum of understanding. I dare to challenge that. We dare to challenge that till nowadays. But the government probably they forget about their memorandum of understanding. It has happened that we have conflict. Because the governments, when they have the power, then they forget about the memorandum of understanding. This I still have the document. We plan in the Tring dare to challenge them because we have proof to challenge them. It's not fair there. Outside people make money on our land. It's not fair. To me, I call them land grabbers. They're robbing us. They're really robbing us. It makes us poor. They are outside the people come in to make them rich for their personal interest. We feel very sad. So, first crisis that they extend the park. That's why in 2011, when they extend the park, but they forget about memorandum of understanding in 1962, 1965, 1966. They don't even consult with us, they don't even inform us. This is what they call abuse of power. Yeah? very bad. What kind of policy they have? To me, they're mafia. Yeah. So we have that kind of conflict between the government and us. We don't want them to do that. We want to keep this part for us farming, for us for food trace, for survival. How can the outsiders just grab the whole thing? It's not fair. I feel very upset. When I talk about it, sometimes my tears come out. It's pain in my heart. I've been 4 times arrested. 1994 I was arrested and they locked me up for 14 days. And they tortured me like hell until my myself bleeding. It hurt me. It hurt me. It hurt the Banana people. It hurt the Tree people. Even though I'm the front liner, Dayang is a new generation. Okao and me was the front liner to stop the operation in 2018 also. I got one of the big company want to come into the area, the logging, they proposed to plant some well palm plantation, which is nearby the Mulu National Park. If they do that, the ecosystem will change. This is what we disagree on. Yeah? Anybody of you been to Mulu? No, you've been there. You saw that. It's beautiful, right? If we don't stop that well palm plantation coming to 2018, I don't think that you see the bed come out from the bed again. Even the tourists, they don't come to see the well palm plantation around there. You guys come over there to see the forest, to see the wildlife, to see the mountain, to see the cave, to see the clear water, to feel the climate. Yeah? This is for the tourists who come in. If we don't do that, if they continue to do that, I don't think that you'll have to go there. So we want you guys to support us. Yeah? If support us. Thank you for BMF also. Thank you for Friend of the Earth also. Whoever love nature, please come and support us. This is our challenge. This is our battle to against this kind of criminals destroy the forest, destroy the nature. Climate change a lot now, especially dam, cascading dam, carbon trading, what do you call it? Something like that. This is unhealthy development to me, right? Are you agree for that?
Yes. Yeah.
Please try your best to support us. We are just like in the cave. If we don't come out from Sarawak, you don't know what's really happened with our country. We're just like people that stay in the cave. Thank you for being there. Thank you for learning with Friend of the Earth. Invite us coming in here. Yeah? Nick, for everybody. Yeah? Sad, sudden. It's really pain. Thank you. Thank you for everybody. Yeah? Please, with the spirit of the nature, we respect them. We respect to the Mother Nature. The Mother Nature will look after us. If we destroy them, they will destroy us. We human beings should understand this struggle anyway. Thank you.
Just a side note also, Uncle Willie is a tour guide at Mulu National Park, and every single time we are there, I would always encourage our friends and even those that are with us to actually invest instead in the local economy instead of staying at the Marriott, which is at the park. So this is not to discourage you to visit the park, but if you do, maybe start sourcing out the ones that are led by the indigenous peoples themselves instead of big corporations. So This is also me advertising that because he really is one of the best tour guide in Mulu. Gabby would testify. But yes, thank you, Uncle Willie. All right, move on. Last but not least, I'm going to call upon two of my very young counterparts. We have both Dayang and Leroy. Dayang, Leroy, I have one question for you. But of course, we would love to hear from each of your different perspectives, or even maybe similar. So Dayang and Leroy, what does justice look like to you for Indigenous peoples, for forests, and for future generations?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Good. It's very glad to be here. Thank you, Celine. So from what we observe and from what we experience and from what we feel, at least for me, the justice that we're looking for, that must change, is in the system, in the government, on how people need to acknowledge how excellent is Indigenous people in their protecting, in their as their role to protect the forest. So what often happens is people not acknowledge it. People just maybe see the Indigenous people as the ATM, as their like source. But at the end of it, of what they're doing, Indigenous people not credit to what they contribute to. So this often happen. So there is must change.
Yeah.
And also, Indigenous people also have the right to govern their land because they are the the best protector, the best guardian of the forest. They know what is best. In the name of whatever development it is, they know if it's good, they will know. If it's that bad, there is the one who affected. There is the one who feel it, not the outsider, not the maybe government. There is the one who impact most by any project or whatever it is. So that's all I can say, and that's all.
Last but not least, Leroy.
Okay, I'm glad to be here and also nervous, really. A lot of you guys here. So, just to remind you guys, my name is Leroy. I might move however I want to move because I'm so nervous now. So, I'm Leroy. I'm from Long Lamai. I'm one of the indigenous group from Sarawak, which is Penang. So, even your question is like what our perspective, what our hope is, right, on the justice of
What does justice look
for
like for you?
indigenous people, for forests, and also
Future
generations. So I try to answer that, but I'm so nervous now. So okay, for indigenous people, I guess it's because there are few of indigenous people in Sarawak. So I guess the best way to appreciate their existence as a whole population is that we recognize their values, because I'm sure we can appreciate that, because I don't think we have any values that is against humanity in that sense. So maybe one way of the justice for these indigenous people would be recognize their indigenous IP. So recognize them in that sense, like however they look like, just appreciate it in sense that we recognize their customary practice and everything. So in that sense, language also, like me, myself, Panan, most of my language is getting faded away with elder generation is leaving me almost alone now. Thank you, I have two bosses here. So that's for IP, and then for forest is that because I'm sure we can find a way how we can live in the forest and modern world together. How come we have hybrid car and flying to the moon and everything, then the land just beside us we cannot appreciate and live together with it? How is that modern? How is that development? And how is that civilized? So I guess the best way maybe use our clever mind to find somehow we can live together with our forest, with our differences, and maybe embrace our differences with whatever, like human as a group. So I think for the justice for forest is that I do understand that we need to use our forest, but we have to find a way how to use it sustainably. If we can do hybrid car, why not with the forest? Maybe, I don't know. We cannot hybrid forest, I guess.
No.
Yeah. So, but we can live sustainably in forest. That's what my main idea is. And for future generation, as a Penan and as a world citizen, is that I hope that we can really have a future where we can have our children running around on the green grass and shaded area. I know what, like some people portray that forest is like greenery. For me, at least for me, that would be lies. Greenery is like, I paint the wall green, there will be forest. No. So the greenery is like the forest is that like all of the rich biodiversity is there, and together with its life, like fishes, human and animals, and also the sound of it, like the streams flowing by and then the birds singing, fly around, and all the butterflies. So I wish that we can have that as a justice for our future generation, because I might have slight differences on how we call ourselves, really. For me, we are not guardian, we are custodian. So we cannot protect it anyhow, and it's not ours. We live here, the best is like 100 years. Like me, I don't think 100 years is too long. So with how I live, I cannot make it to like 90s. So what I can do is that live this world with legacies that I preserve it for my children, my grandchildren. So I guess the calling now is be a custodian of the earth in that sense, yeah, for our future generation. That's it. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for coming.
Into this time constraint that we have today, but again, this opportunity that we have to just share, it is very special to us. Like so many of us, we couldn't imagine that we'll be at another side of the world telling our story. But I think one of the most surreal thing was to actually hear the liling in the corridors and in the grassland in the feel of London, and it really feel very surreal that we were singing liling even at this side of the world. So I just wanted to say again on behalf of the delegate, thank you so much for just listening to our stories. I'm pretty sure again we're just barely scratching the surface. I wanted to even introduce to you some of the work that we're doing on the ground, which is something that is known as Indigenous Community Conserved Area Consortium. We are a consortium of global North and a global South Indigenous peoples. We meet every year in what is known as assemblies or even regional assembly. Like even right now, Southeast Asian Regional Assembly of the ICCAs, Indigenous Community Conserved Area, is actually happening in Lombok, Indonesia. So again, there is this whole collective group of like-minded people, indigenous peoples that are trying to bring in the wisdom that was given to us, that was taught to us, through the years, and to actually tell the world that, you talk about sustainability, that's a new thing for you, but we've been living that for a generation, yo. So So these are just some of the things that the consortium just wants to press on, and this is also why the discourse about COP30 is up, because you would have people like a representative like me being a part of the COP30, but I also bring the stories of my people on that platform. There are days I'm very tired of the bureaucracy, but there are also days that we actually see changes happening. My community taught me a lot about hope and resilience, right? So I stand here today because I'm standing on the shoulders of like this wonderful, playful giants. Very friendly, okay? So I'm very honored to be a part of this, but also just to let you know that this is why this discourse of this international platform is brought about, because organizations like ours that is now probably stepping into that role, we are trying to engage this local context into this international global context even, and we have always believed in people's movement, that the people do know and understand what is actually happening, and we need to challenge the system that has been sidelining a lot of these grassroots voices. In fact, I feel like I'm in this room with a lot of people that are doing a lot of grassroots movement. So this is from one grassroots to another. We are kins, and this is why the stories are shared. So this is probably a little bit of the disclaimer and more info, but if you want to know more, please talk to us. But I think we're going into a Q&A.
Yes, we are. So we're just working out the times actually. So I think we've got time for a couple of quick questions in here, and then we're going to go into breakout groups, and then there'll be lots of chance to ask you questions and before we come back together at the end at 4:30.
And in the breakout groups, you'll be with three.
Yeah.
You'll each be with three of the Sarawak guests, so there'll be opportunity for further questions there.
So has anybody got any questions? Ali and the lady at the back, please.
Well, thanks everyone. That's really powerful, incredible stories you're telling them. Powerful and stories are told, and I think for us, I'm sure I'm not speaking just myself, but for everyone here, that we want to know how we can best support you. So I'm interested to hear from you what are the things we can do in solidarity with your communities to help what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Muito obrigada. I'm Joyce Mendes from Brazil. And I want to ask you, like, I want to understand also, like, what is your perspective for COP30? Like, perhaps how we can help, because we're having a hard moment at the moment, because you see, like, we see the government announcing COP30, right? Like the environmental, space and movement. But we are fighting on the ground with oil exploitation. So we're launching, I'm a campaigner and fundraiser, so we're doing a huge campaign to stop the oil extraction from the Amazon. But it's being approved today at the same time that COP30 plans are being developed in Brazil. So I want to ask you, because we are struggling at the local and community level to see how we're going to bargain with the government at COP30s, and perhaps I just wanted to hear what are the goals that you have and perhaps how we can help, because we have a lot of, as well, movement and support in Belém, but we feel a little bit like lost in the way that, it has been a lot greenwashing, COP30, unfortunately. Thank you.
They have talked about the government sector. A simple answer, but you have a lot of questions. The government, especially Sarawak sector, they should stick to the agenda, sustainable development goal. They have to stick inside the brand, respect the native right. Okay? For me, that's what about my answer. Sustainable development goal. They have to be put in the brand. Thank you.
I guess there will be so many answers, and stuff. I guess they said don't go to the south to see all these terrible things. But I think when you go there, you become the witness, and you can amplify your energy to talk about the issue. And also, of course, involving yourself with local organizations, that would be really, really wonderful effort, because your organization can also speak to your government and help to change policies, or your members of parliament. But also, I mean, this is not just environmental, but it's also human dignity involved here as well. And so I think people in the Global South need your support, and because at the end of the day, when climate change happens, the people in the Global South that are poor can't manage, can't adapt, because they don't have the means to do that. And I think from here you are able to do that and help local, the southern communities to adapt to climate change. So this is, I mean, there's so many answers to that. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. I try to answer very, very quickly. Ali, you were talking about like that relationship between the UKs and Sarawak, like what could happen. I think one our wonderful English friends, you hold a lot of power as a market. For the longest time, one of the uphill battle that we had was when UK was probably the fourth or fifth. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll check that again. But fourth or fifth largest buyer of Malaysian timber certification wood timber, right? So again, you have this certification scheme that says that again, because sustainability is the sexy word at this moment, right? Everybody wants to piggyback on that. So again, certification tells you that supply chain, human rights is complied, environmental protection, yada yada, all the schematics, whatever, right? But for the longest time, we have been engaging with the grievance mechanism of this certification, and actually said what's on paper and what's on the ground and lived reality is a whole different thing. But this was also the reason why we were under the SLAP suit to begin with. So even in the midst of us trying to bring up the gap between reality and what's on paper, and you stamp it as sustainable, because again, it works to clear your conscience. Kudos for you, I guess, but terrible for us, because you're definitely destroying all our rainforests and our grievance and our complaint. No one was acknowledging it. So these were the things that we were doing, and like the cherry on top of the cake, we were being sued, as defenders. So I feel like the power that you hold as a market is just be interested to know that this is happening to us, and pressure your government for really a clean, transparent process. I knew I had a hard time trying to locate where the timber even go into the UK. It's like it was just, I mean, this is my experience, right? So I'm just saying that even trying to access, I would think, a public information was also so hard on our end. So even for you as our English friends, like maybe again demand that your government would have a transparent process, a due diligence when it comes to this. When they say that it is sustainable, how is it really sustainable? When you totally ignore us and we were in the room, and when we came up with all of this report, you sued us instead. So I guess just that, like know that this is what's happening to us. We're trying our best to tell our stories, but also at the same time, our stories are being sidelined. So if we have friends that actually understand that this is happening to us, amplify it for us, and push your government. So you as the market, you hold a lot of power, right? So, but I also want to tell you that the latest report in January and February from Sarawak is that the official report says there's no timber from Sarawak that came into the UK. I'm not going to even say whatever, this is not the place, but I'm just saying that on the official data, that's what's happening, right? So again, if that answers your question, Ali, yeah. And maybe our sister from Brazil, hello. I probably will be visiting your country at the end of the year, and it is very sad to hear that, because you're not the first one to bring it up. But I guess that's the work that we do, right? That over and over again, like regardless of what the oppression is, regardless of what it's suppressed, and sometimes there are days we play diplomatic, you play the game of diplomacy, but at the end of the day, I feel like we don't compromise with our message. And I think this is also me saying that however you think a Bornean defender could help you, when I get there later with my whole Southeast Asian counterpart, let us know. You know, like if you're doing a march or protest, we would love to be a part of that, even to demand the powers that be to really take seriously what you're saying. So I really have no answer to that, because it's the same thing with us, but I know that every single time you go through something hard, having friends with you make it a lot better. And, you know, happier too, in a way. Like, I mean, again, you get what I mean. But it makes sense. Like, you know, we live in a world of contradictions, you know, but the message it doesn't change, you know. Call it out when it's wrong, and call it out, and we'll help you to call it out. Thank you.
Maybe just one small interjection. In the 90s, we went to many countries and we asked the Parliament, European Parliament, to stop buying logs from Sarawak. And Austria and another country was banning, their parliament banned logs from Sarawak. And actually, what happened is that for 3 months only, what happened is that Malaysia and Indonesia, who are the biggest supplier of logs, came and tell the government, okay, you have this billions of dollars contract in our country, do you want to risk that or not? And so the government rescind that law. So that is what you are facing in terms of supporting your government to change policy. But I don't know how else we could do that. I mean, like Celine was saying, trade is very important. A fair trade is very important. Yeah.
That was such a powerful 40 minutes, and thanks to Fen, we've captured it all, so people can go back if you didn't hear anything or want to hear it again. Huge thanks for that. And we've got about 20-25 minutes now to continue the discussions in smaller groups, so we'll be able to have more dialogue between our Sarawakian guests and our activists who are based here in the UK. So Nick will split us up into 3 groups. So we're going to have one group at the front with Elaine, who's here, one group at the back with Nick, and one group in another room with David, who is there. And it's a chance for you to put any further questions you've got, or thoughts, or anything you want to share with our guests. There'll be 3 people from Sarawak in each group, but it would also be great for you to have a think, as well as sort of what you've heard and what surprised you or moved you, and what else you'd like to know. If you can think about what actions we can take here in the UK, and how we can take action either individually or we can collectively in the next month or in the run-up to COP. And what support you might need to make that happen. So we'll work out how to do this best now. Nick, do you want to say
yes.
And just to say, please do come back in here at 4:30, because we would love a final solidarity photo of everybody here. Would be absolutely wonderful. So